Hey guys, it's Ryan. We are here in our Boston Newbury store. Beautiful day in Boston. Beautiful day to be out on Newbury Street, eating in a cafe. We are here to preview our Cordovan Trunk Show, which starts tomorrow. Newbury is going to be one of our host stores the first weekend. We have 9 stores in total hosting this weekend, and then we'll have another 9 next. So with the event starting tomorrow, we wanted to take you through the assortment for the trunk show, talk about some of the colors, some of the styles that we selected, talk a little bit about maybe some of my favorites or some of the new ones that you haven't seen before, and hopefully answer some questions about fit and things like that. First off, I want to show you guys this beautiful store because we just moved down Newbury, about 2 blocks down from the Commons, from the park. We are at about Dartmouth in Newbury. And really, it's been a great opportunity for us to showcase the brand in a way that really brings the Port Washington crafted product to life, and also kind of retains some of the historical feel of Newbury Street. So real quickly, I've got Katie on the camera, and we can look over here. You'll see the Port Washington studio and the way we brought that to life here in Newbury. Leathers that we use in the factory, some tools that we use in production. We're looking at uppers straight from the factory. So really, again, a great way to be able to understand more about the shoe construction. What's really cool is, on the back of each of these leathers, these articles, you'll have the name of the article, the tannery that we use. It's just kind of cool to be able to learn about the materials that we use. And frankly, it's a great way for us to be transparent about the quality that we put into all the shoes. So really excited about that. We have that in a few places in the country. Newbury here, again, this was back in April that we opened this store. Walking on through, you've got some custom bookshelves, some custom casework that we did. We really wanted to kind of honor the history of the street, the history of Boston, but do it in a little bit more modern way. So we've got our kind of center room here. It's a little more dramatic. It's fun. And then working on back, you can see some of our new fixtures, the new etagères, new seating we've got in here, full wood veneer wall, and then our mantra that we have on the side over here. Again, talking about classics, they're not out to become a classic. It really earns that, and our legacy in American handcrafted footwear. So wanted to give you guys a peek of that because the store's too pretty not to. But we're here to talk about Cordovan. So we'll head back up to the Port Washington studio and run through some of that. All right, so many of you have participated in trunk shows in the past. Some of you, it may be the first time. We actually had a customer in about an hour ago who was visiting from Vancouver, and he said, I've read about these trunk shows on Reddit. Explain to me what it is. So basically, years ago, we used to do small events with some of the vendors we carried, and we would allow them to bring their product in and do a classic trunk show. The Cordovan Trunk Show was a way for us to kind of turn around and look at ourselves and say, what do we do well, and what are we really proud of, and how can we make a bigger deal out of that? So it's essentially an opportunity for you to get some unique colors in shell Cordovan, and also some styles that we normally don't offer in shell Cordovan, and build them, essentially pick the style, pick the color, pick the sole, you make it how you want, and it's a once-a-year opportunity to really do something fun and custom that we think, and for many guys it is, will be the crown jewel of your collection. Some of you have many Cordovan shoes, and there's enough crown jewels to go around. So wanted to run through the assortment this year. For those of you who don't know, shell Cordovan is a unique material. It is a leather, but it's not an actual skin the way a calf skin is or a cowhide. It's the muscle fascia from a horse that sits on the back hips. Out of one entire Cordovan, out of one entire horsehide, you end up with about 2 pieces this big. So the rarity of it is pretty obvious. The way that you get that leather, it's not a byproduct of the meat industry. It's very specialized. We only source our Cordovan from Horween in Chicago, who has been tanning Cordovan longer than we've been making shoes, believe it or not. And they really are the best in the world at it. So that's shell Cordovan. It is extremely durable, very easy to take care of, doesn't crease, over time. It just kind of rolls. You take a damp cloth and a wet brush to a piece of shell, and it's going to come back just like new. So that's where people kind of fall in love with it. It has a great luster to it, and the depth of the color, which really shows off well in some of the new colors we have this year. You get it in the sunlight, and it just pops. So that's Cordovan. That's why we're excited about it. Now let's get through some of the colors and styles that we have in this year's show. So if you've done the shows before, Natural we have brought back. Natural is the lightest color of Cordovan. It's maybe hard to see in the camera, but it shows off that feathered grain of the shell really well, where the grain almost lays down. And from one side, it'll look much lighter, or in this case, lighter. And then from this side, that panel may look darker. So a lot of character to the shell. It's one of the toughest to get your hands on because if there are any blemishes in the Cordovan, if there are any dark spots, you can't cover that up with color. You can't add additional dye. You have to have really a flawless piece of Cordovan. So again, really hard to get your hands on, and this is the only time of year we offer it. I think we've had probably 3 years in a row that it's been part of the Cordovan Trunk Show, and it's a perennial favorite. You may notice inside of the Higgins Mill here, in natural Cordovan, you also have a natural Cordovan belt. So this year, for the first time, we are offering our Cordovan Avenue 2 belt, which is a great looking US made 35 millimeter belt, single belt keeper here, solid brass buckle. Quality is really just unmatched. We will be offering these belts in every color of Cordovan that we're offering this year in the Trunk Show. In addition to the belts, we also have card cases. So if you really want to match your accessories when you're picking out your shoes this year, not only a great opportunity to do it, but the first opportunity to do something like that. And for those of you who have participated in trunk shows in the past, even if you're not getting a natural shoe this year, but you've bought one in the past, this is really your only opportunity to get a natural Cordovan belt that matches something that's already in the collection. One thing you'll notice about the Cordovan Ave belt, it's tabbed because, again, you saw how small those shells were. So essentially you have a couple of seams here that piece together to the full length of the belt. So kind of a unique feature of a Cordovan belt, again, just due to the nature of the material. So really excited to be able to offer the belts this year. Belts are all at $250. Again, made in the US, fantastic price for a Cordovan belt. Card cases are at $150, and they're a nice unlined interior pocket, exterior for more cards, a nice hand stitched around the outside, and a little embossed logo. So for the guys that are really simplifying the pockets, simplifying the wallet, great opportunity to pick up something that's going to last forever. All right, so back to the styles. We talked about natural as a color. In this case, it's on the Higgins Mill. Higgins Mill is our best-selling casual boot. It's on the 1757 last, which is a great casual last in that it's a little bit broader at the ball of the foot. The toe sits a bit flatter, so while you can tell it has a work boot kind of inspiration, the profile of it is much sleeker. 3 speed hooks and exposed brass eyelets. With the Higgins, you're getting it standard with a day-night outsole, but one other benefit of the Cordovan Trunk Show, as I mentioned earlier, is you can customize your soles. So for those of you who like your boots or shoes to have a leather sole, we can switch that to a single Redenbach leather sole, a double Redenbach leather sole. Redenbach is a German tanned outsole, vegetable tanned, really intensive process, very flexible but also very durable. So we can make that switch for you and again build the boot the way you want it. So Higgins you got there in natural. You can also see it here in brown Cordovan. Brown is one of our everyday offerings, so something you can always get a handful of styles in. This year the brown, obviously you're going to be able to take that to some styles that aren't normally offered in shell Cordovan. So Higgins you've got there. The next one I'm really excited about is the Park Ave Boot. We just launched the Park Ave Boots, a handful of weeks ago. It's on the 65 last, just like the Park Avenue. So it has that same fit that you're familiar with and that you've grown to know and love. Still has the triple stitching here through the vamp, takes it up to a 6-eyelet closed lacing on a boot, shorter shaft obviously, and something that's meant to be worn dressed up. This one is done in black Cordovan. So if you need a black dress boot or shoe that frankly you're never going to have to replace, you can't get any better than shell Cordovan in black. Again, maintenance wise, damp cloth, brush with a bunch of friction, and all that luster is going to come back to the Cordovan. This park boot has that Redenbach sole that I mentioned before. You'll notice we've got the branding on the middle here, JR logo up top. All the Redenbach soled shoes, both single and double, come with this dovetailed heel. So you get the rubber kind of insert in the back where your heel's going to strike. Leather top lift in front of that with brass nailing. Really just a great piece of quality craftsmanship. And something that, it's exciting to throw your heel up on your knee when the bottom of your shoe looks like this. So Park Ave boot, very excited to have in the collection. It started off doing really well. One interesting thing about the Park Ave boot is navy has been one of our better selling colors in the Park Ave boot, so we know that you guys aren't afraid of color when it comes to your footwear, even in a dress boot. So I think it'd be kind of cool to see somebody take this Park Ave boot and roll it into one of these fun colors we're getting ready to feature here in a second. So Higgins Mill, Park Ave boot. Rounding out the boot side of the Cordovan offering is one from the vault. So this is the Dundee. The Dundee Sunset a handful of years ago. It's been one that we've had requests to bring back. It is a classic 3-eyelet chukka. So you get that, short shaft, 3-eyelet closure. It's got a nice reverse welt on it, which gives it that kind of broader footprint. And then one detail that's great on the Dundee is that welt is wheeled, or some people may call it fudged, where you get the little grooves along the top of the welt that would essentially be done by a tool that rolls over and makes that impression in the reverse welt. Dundee is on the 511 last, classic last, that we offer in a huge size range. So for those of you guys who are those tough to find sizes, C width, A width, double E, the ones that you really have few options, this is going to be one that's in your wheelhouse. This one is done in the brown Cordovan, similar to what we saw in the Higgins before, and also a Redenbach sole, this time a double sole, so a little bit heftier. 12 irons of leather rather than 9.
So you can change your sole.
You can, absolutely. Yeah, so really trying to get you the options for the soles. You've got single JR, you've got double JR, you've got day night. The day night you saw here was in black, by the way, but we also do day night. We've got them hanging around somewhere. We do day night in a brick red, we do it in a blue. There's an olive green, actually, that with some of these colors I think would look great. So yeah, we'll get you a full look at the soles that you have available as well. But yeah, no, good point. If you wanted to do this in a more casual iteration and throw a lug on it, easy to do. So that kind of takes care of the boot side of the assortment. And then on the shoe end, we get into some of the fun colors and the ones I'm really excited about. So I'm going to start all the way on the right here with the first hand-sewn loafer that we've had in the Cordovan Trunk Show ever. It's been a while since we've offered a hand-sewn in shell Cordovan in the regular lineup. So this is the Newman. Newman is a new hand-sewn for us. Your classic kind of beef-rolled penny loafer. A nice moccasin stitch around the toe. The term hand-sewn, best way to explain it is your welted styles, your Randolph, your Grayson, things like that are built kind of from the top down. So you have the upper, which actually up there, Katie, if you want to show, like the Randolph upper, we build the top of the shoe, and then that is pulled down over a last and completed on the bottom. A hand-sewn loafer, it's done in the opposite of that. So a hand-sewn is built from the bottom up and then finished around the top here. And one kind of interesting nuance where you can always tell a hand-sewn loafer is it'll have a hole back here somewhere near the heel. So usually it's by the foxing here because we actually have to tack the upper to the last up here, where on a welted style, it's pulled down and tacked from the bottom. So it's kind of it's a weird kind of indicator to tell if something is hand-sewn or welted. The benefits of hand sewn, the flexibility is fantastic. So it's really built like a moccasin to wrap around your foot really well. A little bit more casual in its intended wear. And I think it breathes a little better too, personally, because of the way the seams are done around the top. So all that to say, the Newman is, I think, the best fitting hand sewn we've done. I've been with the brand almost 11 years. So I've seen the Kenwood, the Kavanaugh, the Stowe. I've seen a lot, the Walden. I've seen a lot of shoes come and go. I have personally been wearing the Newman for quite a while now, and I think it does the best job of getting you the fit over the instep without the heel getting too wide. So you're going to lock into this shoe really, really well. If you haven't tried it, I would definitely get into a store, figure out what size works best for you, because a classic hand-sewn beef-rolled loafer in Cordovan is like, I mean, it's the epitome of American, styling, frankly. So this Newman is done in green. Green we've had it for a number of shows. Green is dark. It's kind of an emerald color. It does change a little bit in the light, and you do get some of that, darker from this direction, lighter from this direction. Hopefully the camera's picking up on that. But it's a deeper green. And we also are finishing any shoe that you order in this deeper green, we're finishing it with a brown sole edge. So it kind of accents the darker green a little better compared to, you'll see one of the newer colors here in a second that we finished with a lighter edge. So Newman, hand-sewn loafer, great option. Green, a fantastic color if you want a little pop of color, but also something that I think you can wear as a neutral. If you're wearing it with denim, khaki, gray, just pretend green is a shade of brown and you're going to wear it in the same scenarios. So a lot of fun. Next one, it's the brightest. It's the boldest color. It's the one that is for the guy that owns everything. Okay? So if you got a collection of 300 shoes, you probably don't have one in Ultraviolet Cordovan. We're really excited to be able to offer this UV Cordovan. It is a shade of burgundy that it's much, much lighter. It has some killer depth, and again, that feathered grain showing the lighter from this direction and then the darker switching this way is super intense in the Ultraviolet. This one's done in the Park Avenue. Park Avenue is our bread and butter. It's the shoe that we are, I would say, known for. It's synonymous with Allen Edmonds. It's synonymous with traditional American dress. So Park Avenue in Ultraviolet is like the coolest dichotomy ever because it's arguably the most conservative shoe in the most intense color. The Ultraviolet, we are finishing with what we're calling a clear top welt. So it really shows off the natural leather in that welt. Also doing a clear edge, or kind of a natural edge. So you can get a feel for the layers of leather that are in that Redenbach sole, condensed, compressed, and tanned. And I think it shows off the craftsmanship really, really well. And I'm very glad we chose a lighter colored sole welt and also welt stitching on the Ultraviolet. So again, if you're going to do an Ultraviolet in any other color, you're going to get that same kind of finishing on the welt and edge. Ultraviolet, very, very excited for. And I'm going to pull the belt because I think this thing's awesome. I mean, if you're worried about how in the world did I wear this and make it make sense, I mean, with denim in between, with a pair of white pants in between, and this in like a Newman going through the summertime, I mean, it's a perfect look. And that belt is really going to be able to tie everything together and balance out what would otherwise be a pretty intense color on the foot. So excited to have Ultraviolet in the lineup. Something, frankly, I didn't think we'd ever be able to do. So I'm really excited about that one and hope there are enough of you guys out there with the guts to order something in Ultraviolet. Okay, next style up, another new style. This is the Drake in Chili Cordovan. So Chili is an option most of the year in a handful of styles. Park Avenue, Strand, Higgins Mill. Some of these you can get in Chili every day. This one, this sample you're seeing in the Drake, and the Drake is a new kind of plain toe blucher. So 360 welted, reverse split reverse welt. The Drake outsole, this is a proprietary outsole we developed for our entire, what we'll call the officers collection. That's what we're referring to it as internally, because a lot of the styles were inspired by that kind of dress blues, military uniform, your airline pilots, things like that. The Drake, though, is a style that on its own, I just wouldn't sleep on. I'm wearing it actually today in calfskin with black denim. You guys can get a look at that one. The silhouette, the last on this thing is fantastic. So we've had a lot of people say, what's the difference between the Drake and the Leeds? The Leeds is our traditional plain toe blucher. One thing that I hope can kind of come through here, the Leeds is on the same last as the Dundee here. And if you can just look at the toe shape, the Dundee is much pointier of a profile out at the toe. It's very straight through the middle. That 511 last is really straight through the middle, and then you can see the toe box narrows out a bit. The Drake is a new last for us that we engineered to really fit the foot better. Men's feet have changed a lot since the 511 last was developed, and I think this does a good job of giving you a narrower waist, so it's going to give you better arch support and kind of hug the middle of the foot really well. More space for the ball of the foot, and then a little bit more space for toe spread. So it looks a little bit, broader from the top, but from the side, it's got a great profile with kind of a toe bump, but then it drops in just behind the toe at the front of the vamp here. Something you really have to see in person. This chunkier derby look is really big in fashion right now, and I think this is a great way for us to make it wearable. So from some other designers out there, you've seen almost like overstated, very chunky, very broad, things that aren't as wearable every day. I think this is a great way to take that trend of the chunkier, almost like an English derby, and bring it into something that's easy to wear day to day. Great if you're doing a wider leg pant, kind of a streetwear look. I'm wearing it with slimmer jeans today, and it really just lets the shoe pop a bit. So don't sleep on the Drake. I think it'd look good, frankly, in almost any color that we're offering this year. And if you're not a fan of the rubber sole, which I love on the Drake and calfskin that I'm wearing now, but if you want to switch this to a double leather sole, like we saw on the Dundee, it's doable during the Cordovan Trunk Show. If you aren't afraid to do something more dramatic and you want to make a statement with it, you can pop a lug sole in the shoe and do it that way too. So that's the best part about a trunk show. It's really about showing your personality and your identity through the shoes, and hopefully ending up with something that somebody else doesn't have. It really becomes a showpiece. So that's the Drake in chili, and of course we have the chili belts to match. So we're through a couple of the shoes there. The last two shoes in the lineup, and also the last two colors. We'll start with the Strand Sneaker. This is the only sneaker that we have in the Cordovan Trunk Show this year. It is, of course, modeled after our Strand, which is a great classic Oxford, full brogue. It has a removable insole if you're someone that wears a custom orthotic or just wants a little bit of cushion. We've got a nice leather-lined removable insole, a refined cup sole, so it's a little bit of a shorter sidewall, and something I think is easier to dress up than some of the chunkier cup-soled shoes. And this one is done in burgundy Cordovan. It's probably the most notable color of shell Cordovan. For a lot of people, the color itself is Cordovan. You hear a lot of people use the term Cordovan to just describe that dark burgundy color because it's the original color, and definitely the one with the broadest production. So Strand Sneaker, the great thing about this also is while you see the sole here in white, I'm actually going to, here we go. We can also do that sole if you wanted to switch to a black refined cup sole. We can make it with black. We can make it with blue. We also have a brick red. I've seen guys in the past do kind of a blue shade of Cordovan with a blue sole. I've seen chili Cordovan with the brick red sole. So if you want to go more monochromatic, you can do it. If you want to have some more contrast, you can do it that way too. So that's the Strand Sneaker. Let's get to the last shoe, and then I'll kind of go through the soles overall real quickly. So the last one, we mentioned how this was inspired by the Strand. This is the Strand. So The Strand is, again, full brogue, 6 eyelet Oxford, 65 lasts, classic Allen Edmonds fit. This color is denim, okay? Denim, you think dark blue, and it is, but it has some green undertones to it. So you can kind of get a feel for that in the light here, and I think, frankly, the edge and welt color makes it look a little bit more green yet. Also, that kind of unfinished edge that we do on the broguing here, we're not staining that. So we're not staining the pinking, we're not staining the punch-outs in the brogue. It just shows off the detail so well. Full medallion out on the toe. You guys know the Strand. You love the Strand. But the denim color is one that I think is going to translate really well to about anything. It's been a big year for Navy. Of course, you get the belt to match. So that's going to be able to bring your blue in there. And yeah, it looks more blue on the belt without that kind of brown framing it. So Navy's huge for us. We've been selling a lot of Navy calfskin, but again, in Cordovan, anything in that blue tone I think shows really well. And Cordovan's being worn so much as a casual material that I've seen some great looking Navy Higgins Mills in the past. I think a Navy in the Drake, or I'm sorry, a denim in the Drake would be a real solid winner too, especially if you threw that double sole on there and gave it that really light kind of foundation. So that's the lineup there. Again, Higgins, Park Boot, Dundee out of the vault, Park Avenue and Strand in your classic dress, Strand Sneaker in sport, and then the Newman in the hand sewn. So really solid lineup, some colors that we are very excited about. And then, yeah, the last thing I want to go through is the soles. So let's see if we can make this tray work here. So you've seen kind of the standard soles, black day night, on the Higgins Mill. More colors that we offer in day night. This is the olive that I was referring to. Actually, a unique color for Allen Edmonds from day night. Brick red is another kind of classic day night color. And then we also have a blue, which you're seeing here in the refined cup sole, but that same color we do offer in a day night outsole if you want to add a little bit more color to it. The cup soles, you've seen the white, you've seen the blue, the black. We also do that cup sole in the brick red. So essentially these two soles come in both colors. If you're wanting to go the lug route, we are bringing the Commando lug sole back from its side. Here you're seeing just the sole itself. This would be accompanied by a lugged top lift as well. So it's a separate heel block with a lugged top lift. Commando's great because the lugs are recessed from the edge. So that welt stitching would happen out here where it's flat, and the lug profile wouldn't extend out to the edge of the sole. So it's a nice way to kind of have a quieter lug, something that doesn't appear as chunky or as aggressive. If you like the aggressive, we do offer the full lug sole. In the past, we've done an XL Henry. We're going to try something a little different this year and offer our Freeport lug sole. This is, again, another proprietary outsole that we developed last year. It's a little bit denser than the XL Henry. So it's not going to be as soft as the XL Henry, but it still has a good amount of cushion to it. So a little bit more rubber, a little less EVA in the compound. And again, a one piece the same way the XL Henry is. So if you want that more aggressive lug sole, the Freeport sole is going to be the way to go. So yeah, that's how you can kind of have it your way in the trunk show. We talked about the styles, we talked about the belts. One exciting thing about the belts is we're going to offer them in sizes from 30 inches up to 54 inches. We normally run our belts 30 to 44 inches, but since these are custom made one at a time for you, we wanted to kind of expand that size range out and make sure that everybody can participate, and more guys can be part of the show. And then, yeah, the card cases are the last thing in the trunk show that, again, we think it's a great addition. Honestly, with Christmas coming up, holidays coming up, you want to plant a little bug in your significant other's ear and mention the trunk show to them. After they say, "What's a trunk show?" and you explain it, you tell them about the card cases. It'd be a great stocking stuffer again, with the holidays just around the corner. So really excited about the trunk show this year. Hopefully we covered everything, and answered any questions that you guys may have had. If you want to sound off in there, tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what styles you could see yourself jumping on, what sort of combinations you might have in mind, and really looking forward to a successful event. Again, we're here in Newbury in Boston, 141 Newbury Street. Beautiful store. Sun's starting to go down, and it's really probably one of my favorites in the way it turned out. And if you're ever in town, definitely swing in, say hi to Johan, Matt, and the gang. Victor will be here slinging some shoes. So thanks for joining us. Really appreciate the time. Let us know what you're thinking down in the comments, and we'll see you guys soon.